I am Angela Clark, the artist behind Clark Fine Art. Thanks for joining me. Today I'll be painting a moonlit landscape. If you would like to paint along and this video is going a little too fast for you, you can always pause the video, select the little cog icon for the settings of the video, and then you can slow it down to about 0.5 and you'll probably be right at real-time painting. You can make it slower or faster, and if you just want to enjoy the painting and speed things along, you can select a faster speed. So, as we get into this, I'm starting with the blue for my sky, and I'm just going to take that. I added a touch of black in with my blue, and I'm going to bring this down because it's going to be a night sky. We're going to end up adding some stars and the moonlight, adding the white in just to get this blended down. But this is actually lighter than I'm going to need because it is going to be nighttime. It's moonlight, so we're going to darken this up. I'm just going to see me continue to paint over this, throwing in that blue. That is a cerulean blue? No. This is a phthalo blue, red shade. And I'm just putting this on. I add a touch of black in with my blue just to darken it up and make it deeper, a little bit richer color. And I'm just going to come through and keep adding to that background until I get it pretty much to where I want. So if you're following along, just go ahead and you're going to paint down about a third of the way on your canvas. I'm using a 5x7 canvas board. You can use a regular canvas. You can use a canvas board like I am. You can choose to use an artist paper. If you don't have the supplies, then you can just cut up a piece of cardboard and paint it on a piece of cardboard if that's all you have and you want to paint along. Whatever you have. So here I'm just continuing to lay in that background color. And you'll see I keep darkening this up. And again, that is just a matter of adding a touch of black in with my blue. And here I'm just starting to bring it down. This is about where I'm going to want my horizon line to go. And I'm just fading it down a little bit. This is going to go into my ocean water. So it's okay if this goes down further because we're going to come back and add to this. So here I'm just establishing where that horizon line is, getting all of that blue in there. And then while that starts to dry, I'm going to move on to the beach. So I'm using an unbleached titanium and a little bit of burnt sienna. And it's really giving me that reddish tone. It's looking way too pink. You're going to see me keep toning this down. Again, I'm just going back with the unbleached titanium. That's a little yellow ochre. And I'm going to come back through even and grab a little bit of titanium white. I just want this to look like beach sand. And we're laying this in now because we're going to want our water to be on top of this. So we need to lay in our beach so that that can dry. So here you see I'm adding the little bit of the titanium white just to blend that down, try to get it where I want it to be. And you can just keep working yours. And if you don't have unbleached titanium, you can always use yellow with a touch of red and a little white, and you can blend down the color for sand. Just play with it. Play with it till you get the color that you want. So next I'm going to take, this is a stiff brush, and I'm using, you can use a butter knife if you don't have a palette knife. And I've mixed up a very pale blue so that it's not pure titanium white. And I'm flicking that onto my painting. And if you notice, I did not follow the rule I always say, and that is the very first time you flick that paint, do it on a napkin or your palette so that you don't get a large glob of paint. But if you did the same thing that I did, don't worry, that's where I'm going to put my moon now. So then I'm going to go in with some brighter titanium white and flick some more stars. And this is just going to add depth to my sky by using the different tones here, using that really pale blue, then adding the white. I just noticed I had a mark on my sand touching that up. I'm also going to come back, and I have some silver here. And I am going to use this the slightest hint and throw a few splatters in there that are that silver just for some sparkle. We're going to come back later and glaze over this and tone all of the stars down. You'll see here, I wanted to try something. I saw another artist do this and added little specks into the sand. I'm going to try using an old toothbrush. I want really fine splatters on my painting. And I'm just using a little bit darker sand tone. I'm going to use a couple darker shades here, but it's not working the way I want. And I did not edit this out because I feel it's important to share. Right? Art, it's exploring. You can make mistakes. It's okay. It doesn't matter. You're just going to come back through and you'll see, touch it up and change that. Again, I'm still trying. I'm still giving it that effort, a little bit darker color. This is much too dark. So I'm not getting the effect that I wanted for my sand. So right now, as I'm going through this process, I know this is not going to work and I'm wondering what the heck am I going to do next? So, hey, well, maybe we can just wipe this off, right? Because it's wet. But the problem is the sand underneath it is still too wet. So that's base sand color. And all it's going to do is grab pieces of my paper towel and get it stuck on my painting, which I found very frustrating. But again, I have to laugh at myself because it's exploring, it's trying new things, and it's okay. So I'm just going to come back through now because I have to get the rest of this paper towel off of my painting. So adding the paint here, they're blending in the colors that I already had on my brush. And just going to come back through and just try to blend that through. And you'll see there's some of those pieces of paper towel that little fibers wanted to stick to that. So I've got to get those out of my paint. And I'm just going to come back through, put the sand back the way that I had it before. And I decided that the sand needed to be a little darker. So I actually take some raw umber, really dark brown color, and put that on my palette. And I'm going to bring some of that into the sand color that I've mixed just to darken that up a bit. Because this is much too bright. It's nighttime. Our sand's not going to be this bright at night. It's going to look much darker. So you're going to see me go through that process and darken this up here as we go. There we go. So I've added some of that raw umber into it. And now I'm getting a much darker sand. Almost too dark for what I was thinking I was going to want. So again, a little bit of titanium white. Blending that up. I'm not worrying about how high the rest of it goes because I'm going to paint my ocean right on top of that. So more paper towel bits, got to get those off. So if you decide to paint this one, please do show me, add it to my Facebook page, tag me. I'd love to see if you paint along. And now I'm not worrying about that titanium white if I left some at the edge because, at the end of our water, we're going to have foam, of course. And so I'm not worried about that too much. So now coming through to do the part of the ocean, again, I have more of my blue mixed in with just a touch of black. And I'm actually going to bring in some Viridian, and that's, you'll see that teal color on my brush. And I'm just blending that through because I want my water to, as it comes forward, to get more and more teal color in it and get lighter and lighter. So you're going to see me keep adding in lighter colors as I come forward. And again, this was a Viridian. You can achieve this just by using a little bit of green, cerulean blue and a little bit of green, or just the blue, the green, and mix in some white until you get a nice teal color that you like. Just play with it on your palette. Once you have the color that you like, lighter shades working forward, and always blending it in, always going horizontally. You'll see, I'll just continue to blend in my colors, work them lighter as I come forward. And I'm going to use multiple shades here And that is just so I can get that look of the ocean. The waves, you'll see all different. When you look out, you see the different shades. You see those ripples. And of course, that's always going to go left to right along the horizon. Now I need to bring this a little bit lighter still. And as I come forward, I'm just bringing in some more titanium white into this to blend it down and get it even lighter as I come to the foreground. And here I'm just doing the shape of my water. Make yours however you want. But you know, when the water comes in on the sand and as it starts to pull back out into the ocean, it's not a nice straight line. So just leave your paintbrush loose and just work your way. And you'll see here, I left that really light. You can actually see the sand coming through. You want that. You're going to want that because as the water goes back out, you can see through it. You can see the sand coming through. So I'm going to leave this just like that and allow that sand color to come through. Now I've added more green. If you've watched the waves, sometimes when the waves crash, you kind of see that green hue in the water. And I have been playing with my ocean waves and trying to get, I have a perfect vision in my head of a wave, and it's yet to appear on a canvas, but I am continuing to try and work at it. So you're going to see here, I've laid in 2 spots, and these are going to be 2 spots where I'm going to have the waves. And now I'm just kind of pulling down. That's where I'm going to have my my closest wave crashing. And then there's where I'm going to have the wave behind it crashing. And now just pulling down where that water is going to roll over and splash. And again, any part of the video, if you need it to slow down, pause, stop it so you can catch up, or select the settings and slow the speed down. My voice is going to sound really funny and going slow, or maybe it'll sound normal because I talk fast. I don't know. But you can just slow it down, and that way there you can paint along at your pace. Now here I'm adding some of the much lighter color because I'm going to want my moon is going to be reflecting in my water. So you're going to see the multiple steps to this. So it's lighter. This is definitely not the way that I want it, but this is the start. I'm just getting that color laid in there. And then I'm going to pull that through left to right. And here I have a round brush with a point, just a little bit of water on my brush. There's no paint on this, just a little bit of the water. And that's how I'm pulling that through left to right, leaving that center a little bit brighter because my moon is going to be right above there, but yet pulling that through. And now you'll see we're starting to get that look of ripples in the ocean. And as I go through, I just keep taking different tones of my ocean color and just adding them in here and there. As I'm moving forward, the stuff in the back is drying. It's going to allow me to come back on top of that later. And again, just coming through and adding the details to my water. And here you see I'm trying to get some more lighter color. Blending that out because I don't touch your painting. It never fails. I always mark my painting. Just going to keep coming through and horizontal left to right strokes, and you see how thin this is, almost like ink. So now we're going to take that same blue and we're going to glaze the stars, because the stars, if they're titanium white, are going to be too bright. The moon's going to be the brightest thing, and because the moon is so bright, the stars are going to be darker. So we're going to come through with that same blue that we used in the sky, but you just want to thin that down a lot with the water so it's like the consistency of ink. And what that's going to do is just tone the background but still allow those details to come through. And I'm not done toning it yet. I just need that to dry. You're going to see me come back through again. And I'm actually going to take that blue, add the tiniest bit of black, thin that down. And that's what I'm going to use in a little bit to make the clouds. Once I get to the clouds that I'm going to have in front of the moon, around the moon. So back to the ocean, continuing to add in different colors, different shades of the same colors we've been using. I'm just continuing to play with it. Just play with your painting. If you don't like something, let it dry, paint over it. What I'm doing is just trying to get my waves established, get that water. You see I've come over that and made it darker on the front left here. And because this water is coming in on top. Maybe that lighter color, that's from the wave before it. And it's coming back, it's being sucked back out and it's getting thinner. You can see that sand through. The next one comes over on top of that, it gets a little thicker. And so here, I'm going to take a darker shade and I want to add, this is going to be the shadow. So when the wave comes down, you'll have that shadow and then you'll have that white foam on top. And that's just going to give it more dimension. So I'm only putting this line anywhere where it goes back into the painting. You'll see I didn't make that line. I only made the horizontal left to right. Anywhere where it zags back up in, I leave that. So only the shadow on those front parts. So you see there, I left out the part where it zagged at that angle going back towards the left. So anywhere where I naturally had a break, where it was lighter or darker just from a brush stroke, I just let that be part of the wave and added that shadow in. So here I'm darkening up the part of the wave where it's sucking the water back out and it's getting ready to roll up around before it crashes over itself. I need to darken that up a little bit. So that's I'm putting that color in here because I'm going to need that to be a little bit darker. And here's where I'm going to do my moon. So while my water's drying, I'm going to come back. I'm taking titanium white, putting in the circle of my moon. And you're going to see some of my background color shows through a little bit. And I leave that because the moon has shadows, right? We got the old man and the moon. There's shadows from those moon craters. So I'm going to leave the natural dark spots that come through as I put this on here. And that's what's going to give my moon texture. So I'm getting the circle in, but anywhere you see where I've got some of that natural dark from the background coming through, I just leave that. It just adds texture. And of course, I could not get all the way around without making a little bit of a mistake, but that's okay. Just come in with a little paper towel, tiny bit of water, because my background was already dry, and I can just neaten that up. So now I let this dry. You're going to see me come in with some thinned down titanium white. That's dry now. I let that dry. I edited out the hairdryer so you wouldn't have to listen to it. So I've really thinned down, almost like ink again, with the titanium white. I'm going to come around, a circle around the moon. And I'm going to take my finger and brush it out. I'm making the glow. I'm going to keep building this up because I want the sky to be glowing. So this is going to look white. It's not going to look quite right. You're going to see the texture of the canvas coming through. Don't worry. Just keep doing this because afterwards we're going to glaze over this with that same ink-like blue that we did over our stars. And that is going to create that haze, that glow that's coming out from the moon. And it's going to look like what we want. Again, this is very thin because I want that dark background to come through it. This is not straight titanium white, very thinned down. And I was just kept messing with it. I wasn't getting exactly what I wanted, which is what made me decide I needed to glaze over it. So you're just going to keep, I'm still adding that very thin down titanium white. Decided I did not like that on the horizon. And again, I did not edit this out because I want you to see, just play with it. Experiment with your own painting. If there's something that you don't quite like, as long as your background layers are dry, you can take a little damp paper towel, wipe it, wash it right off, and start again. If you make a mistake and it's wet into wet, dry it, and then just paint over it. So working on that glow of the moon still, and now I think I've almost got what I want. And again, I know that this white is going to be too bright and it's just not going to give me that definition that I want the moon to have versus the background around it. But coming in, once this dries, when I glaze it again, that's going to add that definition. So now taking some of that same white, I'm just throwing in more highlights here and there. And I'm using a very fine point round brush, barely touching the canvas so I can keep my lines nice and thin, because the moon is just going to be glistening off all the peaks of the ripples in the water. So that's what I want to establish. Very thin lines, barely touching it. Now I'm going to define what will be the top of that wave. And in here I'm doing the foam. And when you see a wave pull back, you'll see those foamy lines going up into the wave as it starts to curl around before it crashes. I am just setting some of those in. Here I'm going to come back through with my lighter color and start to define the edge of the waves that have come on the shore. Setting the top of the front wave. And now that I pretty much have this outline of where I'm going to want the brighter white, that foamy water, that splashing, got that established. I'm going to get some titanium white, and I'm not going to take pure titanium white. This actually still has a little bit of the blue in it, so that it's not our brightest white, because our brightest white is going to be reserved for our highlights and that water that we want to glisten. So this is just the slightest shade of blue, and I'm starting to add in that foam. Right, so this is where the wave is crashing, causing all of that water to splash up. And define the top of the wave there. Same on this other side. I'm going to define where it starts to curl around, add some water splashing off the edges as the wave is rolling. And just keep playing with it. Add as much or as little as you want. And you'll see I come through numerous times. I let that dry and then I'll come back again. So here I'm taking this very thin down, just like we did for the moon. That very, very thin titanium white, because I want the sand to show through. And I am creating more water. So yet another remnants of another wave that had crashed on the shore. I'm just adding with that same thinned down titanium white, adding some little bit of sea foam here onto the edges of these, the remnants of the old waves that are being sucked back out into the ocean. And you'll really start to see your shoreline take shape here as you keep adding these in. Again, here's more of that sea foam that's being drawn up into the wave. And I'm putting in this white at the top because I want to show a separation from the water behind it. This is the water that's being drawn up. It's lifting up because it's going to become the rest of this wave as the wave continues. Again, a little bit more of my toned down white, adding more detail to the splash of the wave. And if you only want one wave in your painting, only have one wave in your painting. Perhaps you don't want that second wave further in the distance. Here we're just adding the details, more details. And you'll see me keep moving around back and forth because I'm letting one area dry and switching to another. This is allowing that paint, when that paint dries in between, then when I come back with another layer, I can build it up and the color's going to get stronger and there's going to be more layers, more texture. Here I'm just taking just the tip of my brush and I'm bringing in some titanium white and I'm adding highlights to some of the ripples of that water back there. I want this to be where it's catching light. These are the sparkles from the moonlight. You'll see just barely touching. This is the distance, so you want these to be very thin. And you can even, I'm using a larger brush than I normally would. You can even take like a script liner and just literally dot, tiny little dots and put these in. And if you don't have a variety of brushes, you could even just take a toothpick and just put the little tiny dots where you want them. You're going to see just continuing to add those details. And you're going to keep doing this just as you're seeing me doing until you get to the point where you feel your painting is done. Here I'm adding more of the ripples that are being drawn up into the wave to show that that water is being pulled up just before that wave crashes over. And this is the only time that those lines don't follow the horizon. And that's what helps to add that height, to bring that wave up off of your painting. And here I am using a script liner. And I do have my paint thinned down so it'll flow nice and easy. I want to have that very thin. And Again, just continuing to add more details. Stop, take a step back. Always pause and back away from your painting and look. That's going to give you a much better perspective. When you're sitting up at your easel or you're right there on close to your painting while you're painting it, you're not getting what the average person is going to see in your painting, because the average person is going to see your painting from at least an arm's length away, if not 3 to 4 feet away. Very few people are going to come into your home if your painting is hanging on your wall and walk up within a foot of your painting to look at it. No, they're going to stand back 3, 5, 6 feet from that painting. So back up to those distances and see what it's going to look like to someone standing back. And certain things will just start to pop out at you. You'll see where you want more details, or you'll see what you might want to change. Here, I'm just adding more remnants of foam, old waves that were before. And this is, again, just thinned down titanium white. Now coming back through, adding more details, because again, I want to keep building. I want that moon to glow. I want to illuminate this painting. So I have to save my absolute titanium white with nothing else mixed in for the very end. That's what I want on top. I just want those little edges. I just dabbing in little spots on the water here. These are going to be my brightest spots. These are going to be my sparkles. At the top edges of the waves, just areas where I think that moon would catch the glow of the moon, the crest of the wave, the water up in the foreground as these waves are on the shore. And I actually take some of that silver, I thin that down so that it's like ink, and I glaze a little bit here and there in the water just because it gave it more sparkle. And if you don't have silver, that's okay. Just keep using your titanium white. I just throw in little bits here and there because I had it and I wanted to experiment with it. Just again, more titanium white, just continuing to build the color. And it's building that thickness and the texture of my wave. I just keep coming back through anywhere that I think is going to catch the moonlight and I want it to be brighter. I continue to add layers to those spots to brighten it up. Here again, very, very thin. Adding more, I had stepped back and looked, and as I was looking, the top of that wave, it needed more splash. It needed more little specks of white because that's going to really catch, the moonlight is going to really catch there because that is higher. It is higher than the rest of the water. So I knew I needed to get more white, just specks of white into the top ridge of these waves. Making the water splash that's coming off the wave as it crashes over a little bit more defined. The more time you spend on your painting, the more little details that you put in there, the more realistic it is going to look. Adding more white to that edge. I wanted to increase that separation so that I could get the height of that wave and separate it from the water that was behind it. I just continue to lean back, look, come back in, add more details where I think I need them. Now the moon, I wanted more titanium white. I wanted another layer because I wanted certain parts of it to be really, really bright. This is like the brightest thing in my painting. So I need to come back through with pure titanium white, not thinned down. This is straight titanium white right out of the tube. I want to add more to the moon to brighten it up. My sparkles can't be brighter than my moon, right? My moon's causing those sparkles, so my moon needs to be very bright. Here I'm just coming through with a little bit of that silver while I'm letting my moon dry. Little bit of that silver that I had thinned down, and this is where I'm just adding a few little sparkles in my water. Again, it's really thinned down, so I'm just kind of glazing it over. So all I'm really getting is this glistening look in the water here and there. And again, if you don't have silver paint, don't worry about it. It's not that important. I just wanted to experiment with it and try it out, like I said. Just using your titanium white, continuing with your details. Keep moving forward. We're going to come through here soon and we're going to glaze that back because it's still not looking quite right to me. I just don't have the glow that I want. And I find that I do that a lot as I'm painting out. Something will be bothering me. The moon is what's bothering me in this painting right now. And I keep moving away from it because I'm trying to think, what am I going to do with that to fix it? The sky isn't quite as dark. I'm looking at my water. I have nice, rich, deep tones in my water at the furthest point near my horizon. And the sky is just way too bright. So I'm going to come back through and I'm going to glaze in there and I'm going to take a little bit of black, a little bit of my blue, mix those together so I have a nice deep, deep color. More blue than black, and really thin that down again so it's like ink. And that's where I'm going to come back through. And I started glazing, and you're going to see me do this. I started glazing it, and then I thought it kind of looked like a cloud to me. And that's how the clouds developed in my sky. And that was just me leaving a little bit of the glazing thicker in some areas than others. So here, coming through, a little bit more white. That other layer had dried, so I was adding another layer again. And here we go. So I mixed up this glaze. Now you'll see, do not do the moon. You want to go all around the edges of the moon. But look how now that circle that we did starts to look like a glow. And again, this is having your paint thin down almost to the consistency of ink. So it allows all the details underneath to show through and just gives it a little bit of glaze. I think my moon was a little wet there and I smudged it. But that's okay. Just let it dry. Keep going over it. So here I've darkened it up just a little bit as I'm getting down towards my horizon, making sure to keep that defined horizon line. And I'm just going to keep glazing this through. And look how that moon now, around the moon, that just starts to look like a glow. And here it is a little bit darker. Again, it's not dark enough. I needed to make it quite a bit darker. Don't be afraid to go too dark. And there, I did that stroke and I said, wow, that kind of looks like a cloud. And I liked it. And that's how the cloud started to develop. So coming through again, glazing. I'm just going to continue glazing this. And you'll see how it just really pushes those stars back, brings the moon forward. It enhances that glow that we painted in. And I'm just keeping this very thin, like the consistency of ink. If you've painted with watercolor, it like that really thin, almost like watercolor paint. Of course, we don't use watercolors on top of acrylics. They will not stick. And now you see we're starting to look like we've got some clouds in the sky. And I was hesitant. I didn't know if I wanted to go into the moon with these. And I was not quite sure how it would work out. And I said, well, I'm going to try this out. Now you see how you can see that moon through there because I was glazing it. So I come in, I take a little bit of the color that's darker, that's not thinned down yet. And that allows me to go over that part of the moon so the moon's not completely showing through it. Now here I'm still continuing to work with that really thin glazing paint. And I'm just like with the waves, I'm just playing with the sky to work at getting the effect that I find pleasing. And I'm noticing here, I'm making a lot of my stars disappear. Now that's okay. And in retrospect, I wish I would have not had that process. Oh no, my stars are disappearing. I need to make my stars brighter because I just added a step for myself that's unnecessary. If you see this, you're going to see me go over and touch up some of those stars and make them brighter white again. You don't have to do that. I end up glazing them right back down. So if you're following along and you see me touch up paint to those stars, you don't have to do that. I'm going to glaze it back out because I don't like the effect I get. But here, what I am doing is I'm taking a little bit of titanium white and I'm bringing it through on the cloud because as that moon is shining through, I'm going to get some highlights in my clouds. And the cloud that is up above the moon, I would get a little bit of highlight below the cloud. So you're going to see me add in a few little highlights here and there just because I don't want to lose that glow effect that I was getting from the moon. And now by adding those highlights to the clouds, I'm keeping that illumination in that background. And I don't want too much. I just want hints of it. And there I'm adding some in. I think that was a little too much, a little too thick. So no problem. I'm just going to wipe some of that down. A little damp piece of paper towel. And there you go. Just give myself a tiny bit. Thin, barely touching. So you see I had added a few highlights to that cloud that was on the right. And here we go. I thought, well, my stars are kind of disappearing. And then as I started to add these few stars back in and I stepped back, I thought, well, now that doesn't look right. These stars are way too bright. My moon should be the brightest thing. And because the moon is full and is so bright, you're not going to see the stars as well. So I'm going to glaze these right back down. I'm going to tone them right back down with the blue that I was using before. That's real thin, that ink consistency, because these don't look right. And I realized that after I do a few more stars. And a few more. And it's still, my brain is telling me this is not right, but yet I keep adding these stars in hopes that it's going to make it better. And it just doesn't. It just looks too bright, and I changed my mind. Which is why I said, if you're painting along, don't make your stars bright again, because here I go. I am going to tone them right back down. I need to push them back into the distance yet again. So just going right back over the stars that I did. Glazing that back out. It just looked much better to me when they were definitely darker, because they would be. That the moon is what is bright, and you have that full moon. You don't see your stars as well when you're looking at the moon, because the moon takes over. And I'm being very careful to not glaze over my glow so much. I'm keeping this darker shade to the outside, and by darkening around the edges, again, that center is so bright, it just helps illuminate the painting. So once we finish this up, I'm going to move on to titanium white that has not been thinned down. This is straight from the tube. Using my script liner again. And I am just doing tiny little dots here and there, adding to that illumination in my water. Any places where I feel it needs a little bit brighter, I'm adding one more layer of that sparkle. And I had leaned back and I looked at my camera so I could see my painting on the camera. And that's when I noticed, I just wanted a little bit more along the tops of those waves, a little bit more in other parts of the water. So that's what I'm doing. Just coming back, final touches, one more layer. Anywhere you think you need more sparkle, more illumination, because this thick, and I'm using heavy body paints, so mine's very thick. When I put this on the way it is, not thinned down, straight out of the tube, I really get a pop of bright, bright white. Here, adding more foam. So if you've painted along, please take a picture. Post it to me. You can post it on my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Clark Fine Art. If you have not been there already, please do stop by. Say hi. Show me a picture of the painting that you've done. I also have an artist group You can find that through my Facebook page as well. And that is Clark Fine Art Artist Group. I hope you like this one. If you have been enjoying this painting, please hit that thumbs up. It definitely helps me. If you are enjoying the content that I am putting out, hit that subscribe button. And if you ring that bell, you'll be notified anytime I have new videos available. If you just hit subscribe and you don't ring that bell, YouTube is not always going to notify you every time some new content comes out. So if you don't want to miss future videos, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell icon. And again, if you hit that thumbs up, thank you so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. Drop me a comment below and let me know. I've made multiple types of videos. Some of the faster, just time lapse with music. Some that were more step-by-step like this, going through and telling you exactly what I'm doing and the process that I was going through. Which ones do you like best? Which ones do you get most value out of? Drop me a comment. Let me know. Do you enjoy shorter videos? I can put more of those out. They don't take as long. I can produce more for you. No, you're really enjoying the step-by-step because it helps you learn how to do different things. Let me know that too. I pay attention to all of your feedback. So please drop me a comment. Let me know so that I can produce the content that you want to see. And is there something specific that you want to know how to do? Is there a specific thing that you want to learn to paint? Let me know. Send me a message. Come visit me on Facebook and chat with me over there. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. So all that's left now is to sign our painting. So there you go. Moonlit SeaScape. I hope you have enjoyed this one. Again, if you did, hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you've missed some of my other videos, I will post links to those right here. You can check them out. Again, I have time-lapse videos and I have the longer format like this. Which do you like best? Let me know. For now, I am Angela Clark of Clark Fine Art. Thank you so much for joining me once again. And until next time, stay safe. And as always, happy painting.